Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael Buble, back for Christmas.
The coolest man I have ever met.
He's the crooner from Canada who's charmed the whole world.
He sort of spans the generations, so he's not just the grandma's favourite.
From my 5-year-old granddaughter to my mum and dad, everyone loves Michael Buble.
Everything about him is smooth. The way he looks, the way he walks, the way he talks, the way he sings, everything.
That smooth, old-school style and sound means he's as romantic as a room full of red roses, effortlessly reinterpreting the classics.
'Cause I've got you, you're under my skin.
He's a timeless crooner, but with a modern enough twist to appeal to audiences now.
And Michael is so much more than just someone who croons the great American songbook. He's also responsible for some of the finest pop tunes of the last decade, penning heartfelt hits that everyone can relate to.
I just haven't met you yet.
He's got real personality, he's got a twinkle in the eye, and we ladies love that.
With a sparkling persona to match his voice, he's the ultimate showman.
Let me go.
Proving time and time again that his fun-filled concerts are the best party in town.
'Cause it'll all be alright.
You are attending your friend's family knees up. You know, think Christmas Eve with the best birthday experience all rolled into one.
But he certainly wasn't an overnight success, enduring years of struggle before he found fame.
He did really, really work his butt off for like 10 whole years.
He's gone down the hardest route to me, and he's made something of himself. You know, it's amazing.
Now he plays to adoring audiences across the globe and has sold more than 50 million albums.
Ridiculously talented, effortless performer, born entertainer.
Thank you.
The house lights dim, the spotlight finds the star bestriding his stage like a colossus, and an expectant audience is set to be enchanted by the unmistakable voice of Michael Buble.
You give your hand to me, and then you say hello, and I can hardly speak. My heart is beating so.
I would describe Michael Bublé's voice as flawless. I have never heard a voice so pitch perfect and smooth and can get from one place to another with ease.
Michael Bublé's voice is a kind of wraparound voice, the kind of voice that envelops you and makes you feel...
It's a milk chocolate voice. It's got real quality, no effort at all.
I want to walk away.
Backed by his ever-present band, Michael's rendition of a Ray Charles standard confirms he's not only mastered the art of the crooner, but taken it to another level altogether.
The boy that loves you so, 'cause you don't know me.
He's more interested in telling you the story than in impressing you with his singing. And as a consequence, his singing's really impressive.
Michael Buble was born on the 9th of September 1975 and grew up in Burnaby, a working-class suburb of Vancouver, Canada. This beautifully captured image of Michael at 7 years old, later used for one of his album covers, shows a happy, content, almost angelic little boy.
His dad, I think, is a fisherman, I think for salmon fisherman. And he was kind of spent a lot of time with his grandpa because his dad was at sea a lot.
What I really love about Michael Bublé is this relationship that he has with his grandfather.
Michael's regular morning meetups with Grandpa Mitch, filmed for a revealing TV special, positively fizzed with cheeky familial banter, evidence of a very special bond.
So what are we talking about this morning?
Bullshit. Hey, sunshine, we're going to get some coffee first, please.
Okay.
Grandpa Mitch had Italian roots and loved, you know, his old crooners. He loved Sinatra and Dean Martin and Bobby Darin and people like that. The kind of rat-packy kind of singers.
Singing in public in Italy is a large part of life. All of them, Frank Sinatra, Perry Como, Tony Bennett, Michael Buble, what they all have is Italian heritage, and I think that's not accidental.
Michael Bublé's grandfather introduced the young Michael to all of these artists that probably he wouldn't have been growing up around at all.
Iconic artists like Frank Sinatra left Michael spellbound with his easy charm, velvety voice, and original X Factor.
I never lived at all until the thrill of that moment when my heart stood still.
Mitch's impressive record collection was clearly a major influence on the young Buble, vividly and affectionately recalled in this sweet interview.
My grandfather used to take his record collection, he had a massive record collection of the great, songs like of Sinatra and Martin and Darren and Ella, and he would transfer them. He was very proud of his capability here. He felt it was very modern at the time for him to take them and put them onto cassettes. So I would take the song and I would tape it onto another cassette and I would loop it over and over and over again. I loved it so much.
He had the courage as a teenager to be able to decide that's the music I'm going to sing.
Sometimes young people rebel against what their dads and their granddads have loved. It's a bit special when somebody's young as he gets it.
Soon the young Michael demonstrated that he didn't just have an ear for a good tune, he had the voice to match. And he held charismatic court, reenacting the eureka moment his talent was first discovered in a wonderfully breezy conversation with Michael Parkinson.
How old were you when you first demonstrated that you had an ability to sing?
I was probably about 12, 13 years old.
In what circumstance was that?
I was sitting in the back of my parents' car with my two little sisters, and they were singing I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas.
Yeah.
With every Christmas card, the whole thing. And all of a sudden I went, may your days be merry and bright. And everyone went, the hell?
And I think that was the first time that his family realised that they had a prodigy on their hands.
But the potential prodigy's path to fame certainly wasn't plain sailing, and a completely different career path briefly beckoned.
Michael Buble, son of a fisherman. This was not someone who went to the Canadian Royal College of Music and then built their way up through the Opera House. This is someone who came from a poor background.
From the age of 14 onwards, for about 6 years, he'd spend several months each summer on his dad's fishing trawler. And he'd literally be up to his shoulders in every kind of fish imaginable.
Reunited for a fascinating fly-on-the-wall documentary, Michael's memories were evidently still raw and visceral as he grimly reminisced on board a now rather different vessel with Dad Lewis.
I remember hearing the worst sound ever was my dad would say, come on guys, time to get up. And 4:30 in the morning, you'd wake up. You'd have worked the previous day for, 20 hours, 19 hours? 19 hours. And I remember waking up and opening up my hands, and because of, the pulling of all the ropes and being in the salt water, my hands would just open because they would cut. They would just crack.
On that boat, he'd sometimes steal himself away and he'd go downstairs into a cabin with a Walkman and he'd still do the thing that he loved, which was to practice singing.
He really just wanted the opportunity to sing, and one thing that I always say is you cannot stop a singer singing.
Realising that Michael's future wasn't in fish, it was Grandpa Mitch who pushed the teenage crooner to pursue his dream.
His grandfather Mitch was fabulous because he was a plumber by trade, and he somehow managed to wangle Michael into clubs.
He'd go into a club and he'd sort of, turn the taps on and kind of go, your hot water's not working properly, I'll fix that if you can give him a spot on the mic, or, I'll fix your dodgy boiler.
Michael would do anything it took. He had a real determination to work his way up the ladder.
It is that apprenticeship, it is doing all that work, it is singing at every country fair, it is singing at every working men's club.
I mean, this guy was booked for your wedding, your birthday party, he did Elvis Presley sound-alikes, he went to supermarket openings.
He would sing in shopping malls, I think he was even a singing Santa at one point.
Michael even treated us to a self-deprecatingly funny rendition of one such early gig. happily playing to both audience and assembled guests in a typically risque chat with Graham Norton.
You did singing telegrams?
Yeah, I would show up at the door, and the tuk-tuk-tuk-tuk, and they'd open, and I would do the, I heard that you were feeling ill, headache, fever, and chill. I came to help restore your pluck, 'cause I'm the guy who likes to...
Very good.
Thank you.
If you've come up the way that he did from singing in environments, and there's film of this, where the audience weren't very interested in the singer, you have to win over that audience, and you have to hold your own, and you have to be able to have a voice that can get above distraction.
This distinctly low-definition footage from 1996 reveals that even though he was barely in his 20s and up against just such a chattering audience, Michael evidently had the style and sound of a veteran performer.
Make me be true, could make me be blue.
Unlike Ed Sheeran, who can stand there with a guitar, you know, if you have the big band sound, you need a band and you've got to pay them. So it was really hard for him.
He was just about breaking even, but, you know, it seemed fairly fruitless.
But of course, he was looking for that big break. He had the talent, he had the voice, but he hadn't had that big break.
By 2000, after nearly a decade of struggle, Michael feared that the big break would never arrive and was ready to turn his back on music forever. And he freely admitted he'd actually chosen a radically different vocation during this frank, quite confessional exchange with Parky.
I think it makes you great.
Yeah, but did you ever feel like giving it up? Did you
Oh,
ever?
my God, yeah.
Did you?
Absolutely.
Were you ever on the point of doing that?
I had, yeah. I was going to go to school back in Vancouver, Canada, where I'm from, and I was going to go to a school called BCIT and take journalism.
It's one of those situations where if you saw it in a movie, you wouldn't believe it, really. When you slog your guts out night after night after night, and you still don't crack it. And I think he thought, well, maybe it's time to settle down, have a family. And then he thought, I'll just do this one last gig.
The gig was the wedding of the daughter of a former Canadian Prime Minister.
He got to sing Mac the Knife at Brian Mulroney's daughter's wedding.
On a Canadian telethon a year earlier, his confident stage presence and remarkable vocal prowess already demonstrates his slick ability to captivate an audience at any event.
Someone sneaking round a corner. Tell me, could that someone be Mac the Knife?
When he performed Mac the Knife, he already was injecting some of his own swagger, some of his own ethos, some of his own personality into the song.
The guest list for the wedding was a veritable who's who of the social and political elite, including, as luck would have it, one of the most important names in the music business, David Foster.
It was spectacular. Beautiful, gorgeous, and the best thing for me was great music.
David Foster is without doubt one of the most successful producers of all time.
He's got more gold records and platinum records on his wall than he has wall space to hang them. He's got more Grammys than they've got a Grammy.
Celine Dion, Michael Bolton, Michael Jackson, Seal. David Foster made these records sound great on the radio and big in the charts.
Michael had found the man who could make his dreams come true. Now all he had to do was convince him.
David Foster, the music producer, although he could see the talent and hear the voice, thought, well, how do you market this? I mean, this is so retro. I mean, if this was the 1940s, 50s, early 60s, I could do this. I can't do it now.
David Foster, he wrote some of the greatest songs ever, without a question, one of the greatest record producers. If he says it was a hard sell, it was a hard sell, but I can see why it was a hard sell.
Michael probably struggled as an artist is because he wanted to go down this route of a sound what was so unique and it hadn't been done in years.
If you were coming up in the era of sort of, you know, Michael Jackson, Guns N' Roses, who on earth was going to want to listen to a song that Johnny Mathis had sung, you know?
But Michael was determined to show that his style of music could sell, and he gambled on one last chance to prove it.
He convinced Foster to get him a chat with the president of Warner Brothers. And he sat in front of the head of Warner Brothers, and the head said, why should we give this to you? You know, Sinatra's already done a lot of these songs. And he said, with all due respect, sir, Sinatra's dead, and we don't want to bury his music too.
In this heartfelt face-to-face, a clearly emotional, almost teary Michael touchingly recalled the moment he knew that the meeting had been a success.
A week later, I was down in the basement of this building that I was staying in, and I was on the treadmill, and the doors flung open, and my grandpa and my manager were there, and they both had tears in their eyes, and my grandpa said, "Sunshine, sunshine, you're with Warner Brothers."
It was a wonderful moment for him, really, when everything came together. The fact that he'd got the recording contract, and his grandfather, who'd introduced him to the music in the first place, and who had supported him, who'd sacrificed for him, you know, done everything for him, that he was here to sort of share that moment of glory.
After years of struggle, Michael had finally secured a record deal. But how would the public react to a young Canadian crooner singing a selection of old tunes? By 2003, 27-year-old Michael Buble's years of perseverance had paid off, and he was about to be launched to the world. But was the world ready for him?
I think at the beginning, like a lot of people, I was quite skeptical of what this was. You know, to have a young man trying to put himself out there as a heartthrob and singing kind of these old songs that your grandparents listened to.
Think about the music scene in 2003. This was the year of Linkin Park, Jay-Z, Eminem, hip-hop.
He obviously could have made his way with a voice of such quality. He could have chosen to put that into pop, but he followed his heart.
Come fly with me, let's fly.
During this impressive montage of early concert performances, edited for a DVD, Michael showed he could breathe new life into classic songs and resurrect them for a younger audience.
Come fly with me, let's fly away.
It was making people fall in love with that type of music again when they hadn't for ages, or they haven't even heard it.
That music will always stand a chance of coming back. What it needs to bring it back is an individual who has got a certain charisma and energy and directness.
Michael was officially unveiled to the public with the release of his first self-titled studio album. The artfully posed close-up cover art clearly designed to sell the fresh-faced new star.
The big thing about that album is everyone was wondering how it would go down. And the answer was, it was loved.
I think it's really hard when you're in love with those kind of old-fashioned songs, but you're a young person to make it work in the music industry, but Michael just had it.
Performing alongside an even bigger band, as befitting his rising profile, Michael proved, with what seemed like the minimum of effort, he could personalise even the most iconic song.
One of the things that marks a great crooner isn't just about the tone of voice.
Gals were born to give.
It's about the timing. It's how they stretch the words, how they play with the rhythm.
You give us the feel when you kiss them.
How they interact with the other instruments that are there.
Fever till you sizzle. What a lovely way to burn.
I remember hanging out with him and meeting him and listening and talking to him obviously about the album and thinking, wow, you're how old with that voice and that gift and that talent? And yeah, it was obvious, I think, that he was about to become a huge star.
As Michael promoted his debut album in the UK, the great British public not only fell for his voice, they also loved his personality.
How's it going, Michael?
The reason why everyone fell in love with him, especially in the UK, is because there was nobody else like him.
He was just an ordinary guy that had this amazing talent that he'd honed over years and years. And I think he struck a chord.
He doesn't take himself too seriously. And I think that is what we love the most about him, is that he just can take the mickey out of himself. He can have a laugh at his own expense. And it's so endearing.
Michael's disarming refusal to take himself too seriously was once again in plain sight in this refreshingly honest, charmingly delivered anecdote.
You know, when you had the Walkman, I was a kid in class, and I would be sitting there grooving, like, you know, Yeah. But on the actual Walkman, I'd have, don't know why there's no sun up in the sky. Yeah, sup, homie.
Wonderful.
And Parky wasn't content to just ask him questions. He was a self-confessed fan too.
Michael Parkinson broke him over here. He became a very big fan very quickly and just pushed him everywhere, like on the radio. He got him on his chat show on TV.
I think it was a lucky day when Michael Buble crossed Parky's gaze. And he came on his show and performed and was just a knockout.
Despite knowing an audience of nearly 7 million would be watching, Michael displayed nerves of steel, delivering a characteristically jazzy spin on a Van Morrison classic.
I touch you, you just tremble inside, and I know how much you want me back. You can hide, so can I just have one more dance with you, my love.
What Buble might not have realised in the beginning was it was wonderful for him to have somebody as influential as Michael Parkinson on his side, obviously telling everybody about him.
Thanks to Parky's plug, Michael's debut album went platinum in the UK, adding to worldwide sales of over 3 million. As always, the singer's own humility and surprise at the scale of this success shines through in this oddly informal bar chat.
All over the world, it was a surprise at first, because I used to think I was in my own strange world of, you know, God, I'm different than everyone else because I love, you know, this style and these. And then I realized as I went across the world, I wasn't so alone. You know, there were people all over, you know, that were younger than I am and were into it too. And I think that's really just a testament to how great the music is.
Michael had found fame, but the adoration meant that it was hard to stay grounded.
He's not unique in suffering the pitfalls of early and overwhelming success. He kind of hit the big time, and the next thing he knew, there was bad press.
Michael has been very honest about the fact that when fame first came calling for him, you know, he found it a little bit difficult to handle.
He's a Canadian bloke, you know, who likes drinking beer with his mates. He probably broke a few hearts, you know, overindulged.
Michael showed trademark self-awareness and honesty about those meteoric early years on the suitably confessional Desert Island discs.
You find out that no is something you don't hear very much of. And I think early on I wasn't equipped to handle it. You know, you have to have people around you that love you enough to put you in your place.
That was his delayed adolescence, because when he was a teenager, he was singing, he was working, he didn't fool around. This was his fooling around teenage period, but fortunately he got over it, and with that good grounding from his family, you know, put it behind him and moved on.
Michael's feet were firmly back on the ground in time for him to start work on his follow-up album, It's Time, in 2005.
The It's Time album really cemented Michael Buble's popularity and was a real career-defining moment for him.
He was very aware of the danger that he would get pigeonholed. He didn't want to be a Rat-Pack impersonator. He didn't want to be an Elvis impersonator.
It validated his talent to also have, you know, to also be able to say to his audience, I can write too. And I can not just write, but I can write really great tunes.
He was working abroad, spending a lot of time in Europe and London, missing home, missing Canada, and he wrote a song about it.
Another summer day has come and gone away.
Holmes' melancholy lyrics were artfully mirrored by the video, showing a reflective, lovesick Michael pining for his real-life girlfriend, who inspired the song.
Maybe surrounded by a million people, I still feel all alone. Just wanna go home. Oh, I miss you, you know.
That song just makes me get goosebumps every time, and his voice on that track is just... I can't imagine anybody else singing it and doing it justice.
Great title, a great chorus, and it's the kind of song that you wonder why nobody's written it before. It's that good.
He is a storyteller. I'm always amazed by the fact that it's like 1 minute 40 before we get to the chorus of Home. I mean, how's anyone managed that? Normally you're straight in there after 30 seconds with the chorus. But he leaves it a long while because he's telling the story, and we're totally brought into that.
Let me go home. I'm just miles too far from where you are. I wanna come home.
Michael Buble is not someone who wants to write just generically about anyone non-specific. He writes about the situations he's in.
In fact, so much so that his real girlfriend, Debbie, who he wrote the song for, is actually in the video. They didn't have him with some supermodel starlet in a sexy outfit making out. They made it about who he is, who he really is, and who this song is about.
And then it was, you know, about their love. And that when they then split up, he wrote Lost, which was a real tearjerker and obviously reflected what he was going through in real life.
Helped by an evocative video personifying the yearning, poignant mood of Lost, Michael once again showed how he could exquisitely turn his real emotional life into an instant classic.
Feel like you're done, and the darkness has won. And babe, you're not lost. When your world's crashing down, and you can't bear the thought, I said, babe, you're not lost.
And during this time, his life saw the arrival of a new love, in the form of British actress and rising Hollywood star, Emily Blunt.
It was a kind of a media storm, really. This was the brilliance of two celebrities coming together.
Even though he was a very established artist by that point, and now he was going out with a Hollywood star who'd just done A Devil Wears Prada.
And suddenly they were on the front of magazines, they were being talked about. And you're talking about two huge talents, and both on the rise.
They're all congratulating her on her 2 nominations, and no one seems to realize that I was nominated as well.
Tell them for what?
Shiny as shoes.
Yeah.
There was something magical about that relationship. It was obvious there was a spark, and it obviously hit it off.
Michael's career was also flying, with the release of his third album, Call Me Irresponsible, in 2007, firmly cementing his status as a global star.
The third album was immense, 6.5 million copies worldwide. I mean, just unbelievable.
He's grafted, he's taken 10 years to get there, and now, you know, success after success.
Everybody knew him. Everybody had heard of him. There wasn't anything. You couldn't go anywhere without hearing his music. In the shopping centre, in the taxi.
Baby, don't pretend that you don't know it.
Showcasing a more pop-based sound via a contemporary stylized video, Everything was another original song, proving Michael was much more than just a cover artist.
Crazy times, it's you. You make me sing your every line, your every word, your everything.
Any great songwriter puts their real life into their music, and Michael Bublé is no different. When he wrote Everything, it was for Emily Blunt, and the song is an incredible love song. I mean, basically, you are my everything.
Emily was really good for Michael because she had a musical ear, and she was the one that said, please record Me and Mrs. Jones, one of her favourite songs. But Michael was thinking, you know, that's not me, it's been done. He didn't want to record it.
He stayed away from R&B and soul, particularly the orchestral stuff like Me and Mrs. Jones. It already had a big orchestral arrangement. It had a really soulful, smooth performance on it anyway. So what you going to bring to it?
Luckily, she had a way. He listened to her. It did make the album. And I think that's one of his finest recordings, actually, he's ever done.
Yeah, Mrs. Jones.
With a little persuasion, Michael embraced his soulful side, with powerful vocals matched by dramatic promo visuals.
Going on.
Me and Mrs. Jones being a song that so many people have a connection to. The way that he sang it, I think he brought an earthiness to it, which you wouldn't expect.
Well, it's time for us to believe in. And it hurts so much inside.
Emily Blunt, she sang backing vocals on that. So it's not quite Paul McCartney and Linda, but it's an indication that they wanted to be part of each other's lives as much as they could.
Every day
They made a real high-profile kind of couple, and it seemed perfect. From the outside, it seemed perfect.
But life in the spotlight took its toll on their 3-year relationship, leading to heartbreak.
It was really hard when he broke up with Emily Blunt because she was kind of heralded as his next fiancée. I think everybody thought that it had legs and that they would last. And those kind of breakups, you want to know the ins and outs. Why?
You've got people following you around, and every time you pick up a magazine at an airport, there you are, and it's your relationship being played out.
They're not the first incredibly famous and successful couple to succumb to the pressures of huge, ambitious careers, geography, distance, potential misunderstandings. They're not the first and they won't be the last.
Now in his 30s, Michael Buble had found success and fame, but was still seeking his true love. Little did he know she was out there. He just hadn't met her yet. By 2008, Michael Buble had become one of the biggest singing superstars on the planet, with album sales reaching 20 million worldwide. His 3-year relationship with British actress Emily Blunt had only increased his fame. After their split, Michael threw himself back into work, embarking on a mammoth world tour, and his next destination offered an unexpected opportunity for new love.
After the breakup with Emily Blunt, Michael was obviously busy touring, busy meeting fans, and he actually ended up in South America.
So Michael is performing in Argentina, and he comes off stage, and at his after party he meets this Argentinian model and actress, Luisana Lopilato.
She turns up with another guy, and obviously Michael thought that she was with this other guy and spent the whole night trying to find out if, you know, they were a couple, talking to the guy because she couldn't speak a word of English.
His name was Rodrigo.
As ever comfortable in his own skin, Michael delighted in recounting their first meeting, even displaying a gift for mimicry during this endearing audience-free interview.
But by the 4th scotch, I was, looking at him saying, "Oh my God, you have such big arms and you guys are so good looking together. What a couple." And he said, "No, we're not together." And I thought, oh my God, yes. Not knowing that at the same time, she was on the phone texting her mother saying, "Oh my God, I come to meet Michael Bublé and he is so gay."
The story is hilarious of how these two finally got together. And a few drinks, I think they realised that actually she wasn't with Rodrigo and that actually he was a free agent too and that they could even be a couple.
I think it's quite nice actually. She comes from a completely different culture and so she's not sort of this sort of star-struck fan and she's already famous as an actress in her own right.
She has her career, she has an enormous fan base. If anything, he's her +1 when he goes to Buenos Aires.
I don't think anybody can understand the pressure and the glare of the cameras all the time. But she was used to that. So kind of in a way, it was ready-made, this relationship.
After a whirlwind romance, the happy couple announced their engagement. And meeting Luisana also inspired Michael to write another smash hit. Chosen as the first track released from his 2009 album, Crazy Love, it was infectiously catchy right from the very first memorable verse.
I'm not surprised, not everything lasts. I've broken my heart so many times I stopped keeping track.
Just in case we weren't sure of how much in love he was, she became his muse for I Haven't Met You Yet. I mean, this is one of his biggest hits. It's always being played on the radio. So we will have everlasting proof of how strongly he felt about her.
I tried so very hard not to lose.
Michael had produced an irrepressible slice of perfect pop whilst doing his weekly shop too.
That song really established him as a singer-songwriter in his own right. It really separated him from those other classics as well. And it's a really fun, upbeat track.
And when he needed a leading lady for the joyous, fun-filled video, he didn't have to look very far.
Michael Bublé in a supermarket. He ends up going up and down the aisles, clocks the eye of one of the most beautiful women in the world, who of course happens to be the love of his life, Luisana.
I just haven't met you yet.
Michael serenaded his new love with passionate, heartwarming lyrics reflected by their on-screen chemistry.
And baby, your love is gonna change me.
I love the music video for Haven't Met You Yet, and I think it's probably one of his best.
But no Bublé album would be complete without more reinterpretations. This time, Michael decided to tackle a mournful masterpiece. Julie London's sultry, melancholic rendition, performed here in 1964, set a standard that made the track instantly memorable.
Cry me a river, cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
With its dynamic opening arrangement, Michael's powerhouse version could not have been more different.
I always approach those classic songs that he does and think, okay, how's he going to do this? You know, you can't do that. You can't touch that song. But then he does, and he does it so well.
Now you say you're lonely.
Delivering a commanding vocal performance to match the arrangement, Michael completely reinvented Cry Me a River to stunning effect.
Well, you can cry me a river.
He gave the song an entirely different identity.
I cried a river over you.
Cry Me a River was always a song that you would imagine people would play to themselves when they're crying and upset. He made it a song that you would send to somebody if you wanted to say to them, never call me again. It's taken the passivity out of it. It's aggressive. It's an assault. Don't you dare think there's a chance I'm going to take you back. Who do you think you are?
What I love about songs like Cry Me a River and the arrangement on that record is that it's obvious that here's a guy that could do the James Bond thing. I think Buble would be the perfect candidate to get the next Bond theme.
Ending on a spectacular power note, Michael underlined the epic, quasi-cinematic nature of the performance.
Cry me a river.
Mixing modern pop hits and reinvented classics, the Crazy Love album shifted nearly 7 million copies worldwide. The stark cover showed a performer shedding his crooner image and moving towards a more modern sound. It also prompted another global tour, breaking all previous records as Michael played to a staggering 1.5 million people. But he still had time for one more special performance, delighting viewers and contestants when he dropped by the 2009 X Factor final.
The fact that Michael Buble is invited to be on it just shows how huge he is and how huge the world sees him.
When I found out that I was going to duet with Michael Buble, I think I was just like, jackpot. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very excited to introduce the coolest man I've ever met, Mr. Michael Buble.
During one of the grandest nights on TV, the studio audience undoubtedly shared Stacey's exuberance as Michael appeared and kicked off their assured and energetic duet.
And butterflies all having fun, you know what I mean.
What was great about that moment with Stacey and Michael is he wanted it to all be about her. And he was like, this is your moment.
When we were singing together, I felt like I was in the best possible hands.
It's a new day, it's a new life.
I felt so comfortable and I just enjoyed every minute of it.
I'm feeling so... And I'm feeling so...
With onstage pyrotechnics matching their vocal fireworks, Michael and Stacey delivered an unforgettable moment of TV magic.
The audience just went crazy and I hadn't felt like that in all my life. I've just done something incredible. How lucky am I? And this person next to me has just been a dream. It was just unbelievable.
But it wasn't just X Factor finalists who succumbed to the Buble charisma. Pretty soon we were all falling under his spell, even hard-nosed journalists.
Not everybody greets the arrival of the journalist as if this is another delightful moment in my day, you know, because you're just being trundled in. He's probably doing hundreds of these. He was one of the most charming people I have ever met.
He was phenomenal. I have to say, I had literally been dumped by email 10 minutes before I interviewed him, and Michael Buble took one look at this pathetic figure in front of him and basically said, shall I sing you a song? And so off he went. And he sang to me. He did what only Michael Buble could do, which is mend my tears with song.
The Loose Women ladies are huge fans of the Buble. 1, he's handsome. 2, he's talented. And 3, he's got an amazing personality. What is not to like?
He really is a big favourite with the Loose Women team. And when one of the producers said to me, how do you fancy interviewing Michael Buble with Kay Adams? I said, yes.
Michael was on typically down-to-earth, cheeky form, delighting 2 of his biggest fans during this irreverent daytime telly encounter.
Yeah,
and I was,
killed me.
Your phone's going.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I was going to answer it. I just missed it.
Oh, wouldn't that be so cool?
It's an unknown. I'll wait for it to ring again.
I really want that phone back. I'm going to have to reach into your area, so I'm not going to, okay? I'll get it.
You know, sometimes when you meet people, you're disappointed with them when you meet them, but he was just like the complete opposite. He was like everything that you hoped he would be and more.
We do often have, like, sort of conversations about Michael Bublé. Where we trade off, because Linda's interviewed him, you see, and I've sang with him, so we actually have arguments about who knows him better.
Just kept thinking, what would every woman that's sitting at home like Michael Bublé to do to them? And I just said, Michael, I said, you wouldn't do me a favour, love, would you?
I wondered if you'd give me a little shoulder rub, if it's not too Yeah, thank you very much. I'll come and sit over here.
You can sit on my lap.
Well, we don't say
You were
that,
just
Michael.
being serenaded by Michael Bublé there, Linda.
I'm just doing
She
what
wants
most
more.
women at
Yeah.
home would pay.
And he did. And he massaged my shoulders, and I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. Yes, it was one of the highlights of my career.
To anyone who's an interviewer, to have somebody like Buble on your programme, you know that, frankly, you can almost sit back and let him sparkle. He was once on the Graham Norton show, and to prove almost that he could sing absolutely anything, Graham Norton got him to sing a text off a lady in the audience's mobile phone.
Well, I'll be getting an early night.
Rising to the quirky challenge, Michael entranced Graham's guests and delighted the studio audience, proving his dulcet tones can literally make anything sound magical.
Keypad is locked. Tomorrow.
It's a load of old rubbish that he's singing, but he makes it sound like she's the only woman in the world that he's singing to. I bet she's got that on tape.
Michael Bublé!
And Michael isn't just a brilliant chat show guest, he can even play the host, confidently walking out to a rapturous welcome on his stint covering Paul O'Grady's holiday from his award-winning show.
Good evening, folks. My name is Michael Bublé.
It's certainly a high-risk strategy, taking over a well-loved comedian's chat show on British television. That is not for the faint-hearted.
Standing in for Paul O'Grady is testament to how natural Michael Bublé is on camera and how confident he is. He comes out with a dog, as Paul O'Grady always did.
Now, you're probably wondering, ladies and gentlemen, why I've got this fella with me. Well, I brought him along for 2 reasons. Firstly, Paul told me that the people don't give a hoot about the presenters on this show. They only care about the dogs. And secondly, this is the truth. This is an extraordinary dog. Don't do it, Otto.
And instantly he wins the audience over, and there aren't many singers who could do that. I can't think of any, really.
He is the oldest dog in the world. Truthfully.
It's actually very hard, technically, to read auto cue and sound like you're just talking, and, you know, juggle a dog, and then, you know, read viewers' letters and stuff like that.
His natural warmth and inclusive sense of humour was clear to see as he kept Paul's seat warm. Here was yet another remarkable facet to his many talents.
The first one says, Dear Michael, we are getting married on Saturday, and we would like to... Yeah. And we would like to invite you to the reception afterwards. We're happy to pay bus fare. And you're welcome to all the leftover buffet you can eat. P.S. Do you know the words to YMCA? It's the song we've chosen for our first dance. Of course I know the words to YMCA.
And he handled it with absolute consummate poise and professionalism. Hats off to him.
Michael Bublé had found true love in his personal life and inspired crazy love everywhere else.
Hi, Mum. Can you just say hi?
Hi, Mum. How are you?
Now he was ready to get up close and personal with his fans and delight his very own celebrity audience. Michael Buble has sold millions of albums around the world, thanks to a velvet voice, an old-school swagger, and bags of cheeky charm.
After I sign this stuff, I actually go on eBay and I buy it myself.
Nice! That's what I'm talking about.
I try to like outbid myself. Like, I try to make myself look more popular. Like, look, man, $40 for an autograph.
And when he performs live, it's the perfect showcase for his many talents.
Michael Bublé concerts are happy places to be. They are really happy, warm, comfortable places to be. It's kind of like having a big cuddle.
People go crazy for Buble when he's on stage.
The audience at a Michael Bublé concert are just adoring, actually. You look around you and everybody's eyes are shining.
You cry the whole night.
Opening the show with his most dramatic refrain, Michael has the audience in the palm of his hand from the very beginning.
Cry me a river. I cried a river over you.
His voice apart, one of the great contributing factors to his phenomenal success is the way he engages on his live tour.
I think that showmanship on stage really, adds to his amazing presence, and I think that is part of what makes him so successful.
Sing it. I said, love.
Smoothly engaging crowds in wonderfully inclusive sing-alongs like this documentary footage following him on the Crazy Love Tour, he now plays to adoring fans in huge arenas, far removed from his club singing days.
Haven't met you, oh yeah.
Not many performers can match their musical talent with their in-between patter.
He's such a great singer that he could get away with just minimal kind of chat between songs, but it's not that, because he loves to engage and there's a lot of banter with the audience.
He's got the charisma on stage. He has fun with the audience. He sings along with them. He gets them involved. He's cheeky.
When his banter is in full swing, it's hard to believe you're not watching a stand-up pro. The comic timing is spot on.
I'm engaged to be married, and thank you. Thank you for the support. That was really very sweet of you. I love it. Half of you just booed me, and then most of the men just looked at their girlfriends and wives and went, oh, come on, he is so gay, please.
He's a very funny guy and very quick because, it's instant.
And if it was true, I would tell the whole world about it. I'd be proud of it, and I would bonk you in 2 seconds, sweater man.
And it's clear when he's on stage that he's loving every second of it, and he's really engaging with the audience because he's sitting there and having these big chats. And there's an example, that brilliant example of a mum who comes to the front of the stage at one of his big concerts and says, my son's quite a good singer.
Yes, and again in documentary footage following his Crazy Love Tour, Michael's ego-free fan interaction saw this pushy mum's pleas lead to a golden moment for her son.
He sings feeling good.
Yeah. My heart sort of stops as he says, yeah, come on stage. So obviously the entire audience has turned to me and is ushering me along to the front of the stage.
Okay, come up, bring him up.
As a visibly nervous Sam made his way to the stage, Michael was the epitome of cool, making good on his offer to share the mic.
Sam, it's nice to see you, man. How are you? All right, Alan, starting feeling good for me and Sam.
This 15-year-old boy sort of looks really timid.
I'd say my main memory of that moment is still sitting there next to him with the microphone for that first bit, and all of my body is just on its highest defense, trying not to shut down and freeze.
You ready? Birds flying high, you know how I feel.
But this young boy just hit it out of the park.
Sun in the sky.
Sam can sing!
Michael's genuine joy at Sam's storming vocals matches the reaction of the audience, creating a truly unforgettable Buble-tastic moment.
I was quite amazed, especially when Michael Bublé just sort of leaves me with the microphone.
You know how I feel. It's a new dawn.
For many a star, that would be a competitive moment. But instead, with Michael Buble, there is a genuine euphoria that this has come his way.
And I'm feeling good.
It was a lovely ending.
Ladies and gentlemen, 15-year-old killer, Sam.
Especially he's holding my arm up. And it was just a brilliant moment for me.
Michael's gift for performing and audience banter meant that he was the perfect choice to host one of TV's most celebrated celebrity vehicles.
I think we worked out that he had arrived for keeps when he got an audience with. That's the Kite standard. That means you are British treasure, certified.
There were loads of incredible people watching the performance. There were singers, athletes, people who are very successful in their own rights. But I have not seen a group of people like that so excited to see somebody else perform.
I won't stop. Sing with me. And thank you, baby. I just want to stop. Thank you, baby.
Michael even ventured into the star-studded audience to get them on their feet, infectiously rousing the celebs, proving his perfect ease in front of any crowd.
It's to be loved by.
He is able to belt out all of his tunes, which of course is what he does best, and everyone's loving it.
He's kind of like a sort of old-fashioned cabaret entertainer, so his jokes are as good as his singing.
It's so nice to be back in the UK, and a huge, huge honour.
Michael's consummate skills as an entertainer means he's always happy to be the butt of his own jokes, much to the celebrity fans' delight.
Because an audience with Michael Buble sounds like I should be wearing a crown and a cape or something. And that's something I only do in my own personal time.
I do remember Michael flirting with Paul O'Grady.
This is the first time I've ever been on a phallic stage like this one, Paul. I feel like I'm deeply penetrating my audience right now.
Inspired by the party atmosphere Michael so skillfully engendered, fans like Paul O'Grady were only too happy to join in the fun.
Have you ever considered a gay relationship?
Come here and give me a hug. I have to hug you.
There's Holly Willoughby, Dermot, everyone in the audience, and he's just so smooth and kind of like, yeah, having a laugh with everybody.
It's like a Michael Bublé concert on telly with an audience of celebrities. There's what's not to like.
Michael Bublé had shown time and time again that he knew how to throw the best parties. Now all he needed was to break out the mince pies and mulled wine, and he would conquer Christmas too. Michael Bublé is one of the world's most popular singers, serenading us right throughout the year, whether it's for a special Valentine or a Mother's Day treat. But there's one part of the calendar in particular that's become synonymous with the Bublé.
It's mistletoe, it's Christmas trees, it's snow outside, it's Christmas cards, it's Christmas pudding, it's turkey. It's Michael Bublé.
That's the beginning of Christmas for me when you start hearing all the Michael Bublé songs.
Mr. Christmas, that is him, and he understands that, and he knows that that's what his audience wants, and so therefore he gives it to them.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go.
Warmly wrapping fans up in his winter wonderland, Michael's Christmas medley perfectly hits the spot.
Candy canes and silver lanes that glow.
He's just got this voice that really works on Christmas songs, and he just always makes them his own as well.
Michael's genuine love for Christmas properly shines through as he gushes with childlike joy against a suitably seasonal interview backdrop.
I'm so excited about it that months, I mean, starting in late September, I'm already so excited about it. I'm so sentimental about it. I can't wait for the malls to be decorated. I can't wait to see the streets with the lights. I can't wait to smell it and feel it in the air.
Frolicking on a fake snow-covered street in this unashamedly corny festive promo, Michael's ecstatic take on Yuletide classics have earned him the biggest-selling Christmas album in the UK this century.
You better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming, I'm in the big fat man with the long white beard. He's coming to town.
He smashes Christmas every single year. That's why I now associate all of my Christmas songs with Michael Bublé.
Michael is such a fixture of the festive frivolities every year, he's even got his own cosy Christmas TV show, instantly evoking the spirit of the season with an unashamedly schmaltzy opening.
It's fine. We know it's not really your house, Michael, but we like to pretend that it is, and we want those happy feelings at Christmas.
It is everything you associate with Christmas. It's got the warm, fuzzy house, the fake snow, the guests coming in, the performances. I need that in my life at Christmas.
Flanked by suitably retro-looking backing singers, Michael's melodies knowingly conjure up warm memories of Christmas TV from yesteryear.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
Yes, it's old-fashioned, but he totally embraces that.
It's a conscious looking back to an older tradition of crooners, entertainers.
We have a shortage of those old-fashioned sort of Christmas shows, like Val Doonigan sitting in his rocking chair with his Christmas jumper on or whatever.
I mean, at the end of that show, when the choir comes out and they all sing Silent Night, could it be more Christmassy? Could you feel any happier in your heart than that specific moment? No.
Yes, Michael saved his most spine-tingling moment for the festive finale, a movingly beautiful, sincere rendition of the beloved Christmas carol.
Jesus, Lord, at thy birth.
And that's what Christmas is all about, I think. It's like a family time, and it always feels like family viewing, that you can all sit as a family and watch.
And speaking of family, Michael's thoughts now turn to his own.
So pretty, I love you.
As he prepared to wed fiancée, Luisana.
This last year, getting ready for married life, I took myself to movies I didn't want to see. I turned the heat up in my apartment to like 170, and I started just sleeping on the very edge of the bed with no covers, so I would wake up freaking freezing. I think it's going to be great.
Michael married his beautiful bride in 2011, the wedding taking place in Buenos Aires, where they first met.
Luisana really represented a turning point for Michael. He was ready for something else, and I think he was ready to kind of step in to the family man role that he had been in training to be all those years with his grandfather. He was finally ready to assume the mantle of being a husband and father.
Now a proud husband, Michael soon became an even prouder dad, with the arrival of 2 boys to the Buble brood.
I think family is everything to Michael Bublé, and I think they're the big reason that he is the success that he's been.
Anyone who listens to Michael's music would know that the guy has a big heart. You know, he's sentimental, he's romantic, he loves family. And so it's not a big shocker that he has taken so deeply to being a dad. It's become, you know, the most important thing in his life, and he's talked about it openly. It's changed his life.
It's clear just how much parenthood means to him as he stumbles to find the right words to express the love he feels for his kids in this captivating chat show exchange.
Really, the only regret I have is that I didn't do it earlier. Yeah. Because, you know, it's like telling someone what it feels like to swim in water if they've never been in water. I mean, it's there's a level of love that I didn't know existed. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And you found it. Yeah.
I think that's why we all love him so much, because we do love someone that's a real family person, and he's definitely that.
Warming to his theme during the same engaging interview, Michael entranced both host and studio audience with an impossibly sweet lullaby he lovingly croons to his boys.
You're the spirit of Christmas, the star on the tree. You're the Easter bunny for Mommy and me. You're sugar, you're spice, you're everything nice, and you're Daddy's little boy.
Michael Bublé had again shown how important family was to his life, and that family bond was about to strengthen even further during the highs and lows that lay ahead. By 2016, Michael Buble, now turned 40, had sold over 50 million albums worldwide. Those sales were set to increase with the release of Nobody But Me, his 7th major studio album in just over a decade. The cover showed an older, more contemplative Michael, at ease with his success.
This is an incredibly prolific musician who's incredibly motivated, who's incredibly ambitious, who doesn't want to rest on his laurels at all.
When Michael appeared on the One Show promoting the album, he talked with great determination and seriousness of his resolve to take a more hands-on approach to his music.
This is a bit of a departure for you because you produced the album yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, I really wanted the chance to take control and to really make the record of my dreams. And to do that, I needed to write with more writers and take control by producing. And so what I did was I basically made a record where I wanted to make the standards in the jazz songs more authentic than they'd ever been. Yeah. And at the same time, I wanted to write better pop songs.
Showcased via an inventive, colourful and fun-filled video, brilliantly parodying a certain famous dating show, the title track combined Michael's love of the standards with his desire to stay contemporary.
I don't want anybody loving my baby. Nobody but me.
It does have a jazz inflection, but it's at that place where jazz meets hip-hop.
Hey, we make beautiful music together, how you make my heart sing.
By incorporating a rap artist on the track and in the slick, fast-paced video, Michael was evidently happy to embrace new and unlikely musical genres.
We had to do right and do like two sovereign nations and try to unite. I'm proud of you like a treasure, you're the one I'm cherishing. Every other girl is really paling in comparison.
Try putting a rapper on a Sinatra record, you're gonna run and you're gonna cause riots in the swing community.
You think of Sinatra and you think of sort of sophistication, and with Michael Buble, when he's doing all his videos, he's quite out there and he's having fun. But again, I think that makes him more relatable and more current as well.
We see in the video Nobody But Me, Michael Buble taking on different characters and personas on a dating show, and with a wig and a mustache and all kinds of accoutrements.
He seems to have a lot of fun in his music videos. He likes to get dressed into character.
Michael likes to laugh at himself. He likes to try different things. He's not afraid to have fun with his image, and maybe potentially an aspiring actor in there as well.
Those acting skills and sense of fun were never more evident than when Michael donned a bafflingly brilliant disguise to play a hilarious prank for a TV special.
Michael?
Oh my God, hello.
He had his features changed with makeup, and he purported to be a South African sales assistant called Dion. And apparently he has a South African friend, so he got the accent. And I was brought up in South Africa, so I know a good South African accent. And he got it spot on.
As Dion, Michael gamely pretended to be starting a new job, throwing himself into the role with highly convincing comic gusto to fool his colleagues.
Yes, you have to take care of my fist there. I'm nervous.
Please don't.
All right.
I think I can always say to you,
yes.
Relax.
All right.
All right.
Hold it up.
It led to this really good sketch where he's kind of going, oh, I'm afraid all we've got is the best of Michael Buble CD.
Michael wasn't afraid to poke fun at his own image, this time audaciously, right under the noses of unsuspecting fans.
I guess, they were supposed to have a lot of other CDs, but these are the ones that, I know, all the crap, as we call them in South Africa.
The man got a great sense of humour, and so they played upon this when he was sitting them down and trying to get them to understand this hi-fi setup. Anyway, he puts in the Buble CD, and then he said you can then turn up the definition, and actually it sounds as though Michael Buble is singing in your room.
Sun in the sky,
When the penny finally dropped, thanks to his unmistakable voice, it created a joyful TV moment which just made us love him even more, if that was possible.
Do you want a massage? It's a new day. It's a new life for me.
And in fact, he pulled it off with such consummate skill. But he obviously loved it because he loved seeing the fans' faces, when they suddenly went...
And I can't think of many other singers who could get away with that because they just haven't got the personality to do it.
A devoted family man with a hugely successful career, Michael Buble's life seemed complete. But in November 2016, tragedy struck with the news that his 3-year-old son had been diagnosed with cancer.
Family is so important. He took time out. He's still taking time out. He wants to spend time with his son, understandably. He's not put his career first. This is his family.
He has put all of his dreams and aspirations aside for his family. And I just think that that shows the type of person he is. It just makes me love him even more.
Michael has really devoted himself to Noah's recovery and healing and care. And fortunately, at the moment, Noah is in remission.
After months out of the spotlight, Michael's first public appearance was in May 2017 to accept one of Canada's most prestigious awards for performers. And as he visibly and touchingly struggled with the high emotions of the occasion, he delivered a heartfelt and moving tribute to his family.
My entire life has been inspired by how my family has made me feel. My wife, my children, my parents, my sisters.
In that acceptance speech, it summed him up. It summed up his values, his integrity as a man, his humility, and above all, his love of family.
There are no words to describe how I feel about you. Sometimes I love you just isn't enough, because what I feel is so much more.
With his family finally receiving good news in time for Christmas, Michael is back on song with a new album called Love and a 2019 world tour. What can we expect of the long-anticipated Big Buble comeback?
I cannot wait for Michael Buble to come back.
People just miss him. I think he's after a gap in people's lives that they're just got their CDs on repeat.
His return is going to be so emotional.
When he comes back, that first concert will be amazing.
I can't wait to see him performing again. I can't wait to see him in concert. I can't wait to hear his voice.
I will be there in the front row and I'll be the one shouting out, I want to sing with you, Michael. And hopefully it'll get me up and we'll have a little sing-song together.
Tomorrow, don't overstuff yourself with turkey, as singing with a full belly is pretty tough, and you'll want to be in good voice for Britain's favourite Christmas hits at 6:35. Next tonight, Seth Rogen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Anthony Mackie may hit a Christmas Eve party to remember. Comedy the night before is after the break.